So the big question is this: how do investors like us, who don't have a PhD in finance or millions to start investing, how do we grow our bank accounts to build real savings and retirements, and yet still have the time to do what we really love? That is the question, and this podcast will give you the answer. Like, hey, can you just show me the syllabus of the course you've taken? So I showed them that, I showed them a book, I showed them some other things I've done. And, just in the, personal research space, we're just so powerful, right? Like, if you can get out there and you can learn about something on your own and then freaking do it, you're going to have this insane educational ability, and that's just so powerful. Because when you're learning yourself, right, you're able to really focus on the things that actually matter. And like I talked about in the last podcast, right, like, ignoring stuff that just doesn't matter, like, you're able to do that so much more easily when you're working on your own. And then you can also go back and then overcome and then learn all of the things over and over and over. It's just a really powerful position to be in the marketplace, because you're able to take control over the process and leverage that as a means to just have tremendously higher output in the education that you're taking, right? So that you have an insane ability to learn and grow ridiculously quickly, based almost exclusively on your individual ability to out of that. That would be great, right? Like, so for all my classes, for this summer semester, we had like readings, right? You had to like read stuff. For one class, we had to listen to a couple episodes of a podcast, 10 episodes, and then I know we had to read like 20, 30 things for sociology. And like the first 2 days of both of those classes, which started like 2 months ago, I feel like that sounds about right. I've done like all the readings, all the homework on the podcast for essentially the next 2 months. And the point with that is, like, if you can take control of your education and your future in your own hands and use that to absolutely crush it and get way ahead of things and consume them much faster, so that you can go through the course content at the pace of, whatever it is. Like, you got to understand, right? If there are only a certain number of 2-hour lectures for a course, like, you can do that online, or if you can do that on your own, if you can figure out the resources for it, and then manage to squeeze in like 10, 12, 14 hours of learning into a day, you're going to learn drastically faster than the standard consumption curve for most education. And that's why it's really powerful when you have that individual ability to go out there and crush it. Whoa, that's pretty cool. They're doing like a concrete thing, so just can't go that way. That's okay. We will go around, make it work. Cool. Okay, so with that said, right, I'm thinking about this. I'm thinking also about the overarching principle in education. We had this lecture today in sociology that really hit home, and it talked a whole lot about how education, it had a significant difference in economic terms for people based on their underlying race, underlying gender, and how there's inequalities. It was really cool. I'm working really hard right now to actually get an entire presentation turned into some course content for the 90 new membership area, which I'm so proud of. But in that 2-hour course, there was something that really shocked me, and that was this huge influence of outside education on educational success. Because when you look, we were talking about the impact of factors outside of school, looking at what really caused students to have like the best grades and the most success, and then like higher education, stuff like that. And there was this cool study in 2003, and this presidential administration basically looked at it and they said, hey, look, education is actually not what determines academic success. A lot of it actually comes from, personal rigor, but more importantly, the environment that you're in, right? So if you're in an environment where your parents are reading all the time, they have a library, maybe they have higher job income, and they take work home. This was a super powerful concept. Thinking that, like, if your parents take work home, it changes your perception of schoolwork, right? So you'll take schoolwork home just like your parents. If they're in maybe like a higher status job, where they get to take work home, right? Like, not like a 9-to-5, but more like a professional career. And then looking at how that significantly impacted the students' abilities and performances and work ethics, all based on the environment that they grew up in. There was a whole bunch of powerful stuff, and I talk about it in 9 to New in the Think and Grow Rich course that I'm recording right now. There was this really powerful concept of like the mastermind and the idea that you're the average of 5 people that you spend the most time with, right? So this study, one of the leading factors of academic success in individuals was not resources, but it was actually their peer group, right? So their peer group drastically impacted the way that they learned, the way that they grew, the way that they succeeded, and it was all based on who they surrounded themselves with, and they became their friends, right? Like if their friends, their economic status, their social status, their activities, their hobbies, everything stemmed from the people they surrounded themselves with. And I talk about it more in the course, but at a very, very fundamental level, I had a ton of loser friends when I was growing up, and there's not a chance I would be where I am today if I was still hanging out with those people. So it makes you realize that you have to seriously consider who it is you work with, you spend time with, you interact with, and make sure that those people are reaching up. When you reach up, all of a sudden, you start to see more success, you start to see more fulfillment, you start to see more gratitude. Every single positive aspect of your life increases because you're around people that have been there, done that, and are more achieving, higher growth. They're happy people. You want to be around happy people. Have a positive mindset, a positive mentality, and use that as a way to grow yourself. It's super powerful. And it makes you think, about taking your social life so ridiculously seriously that it just can't help but spill over and have a positive impact on your personal development and professional success. Really powerful underlying concepts in that part of the message. So that was just really cool. So when I go back and I'm talking about getting everything you can out of all you got, I read the freaking insane book. This guy, he's talking about maximizing your time, maximizing your leverage, maximizing your impact, everything you want. Then he also talks about it more in a marketing sense of getting the most out of new clients, which is super cool. When I'm thinking about that and then applying that into daily routine, whatever the activities that you perform, and aligning those obviously with your long-term goals, super important aspect. On your left, thank you. You can use that as fuel, right? So today, I'm going out there and I'm with all these teachers, and I'm with this chemistry teacher, right? And this chemistry teacher was like, "Yo, John, seriously, there is not a tool out here doing what you're doing. Oh my God, there's wind on the fence again. I'm telling you guys, that is dangerous. Oh my God. Okay, so these guys are talking. And also, the changes in their lives came pretty much from this single topic, which was how they could focus on their activities. So I was talking to the teacher, and she's like, "No one else is doing this. You have your question. Separation that you have from the rest of the market. There's separation from individual ability and motivated out there to destroy any other options you have." And I know a really big part of that is coming from that secure formula, right? Creating that long-term goal that's going to push you so that you want to fulfill it, create a contribution, have an impact on your daily actions. Oh no! Oh man. Yikes. Okay. Well, there's that. Okay. And so when I was talking to these people, it was no one else was seriously even considering taking advantage of this opportunity, right? No one else was fundamentally thinking about hey, how can we save money on classes? How can we test out of classes? Because for a lot of kids, like myself included, you come in with AP or IB credit, and you use that as a fuel, right? As a mentality that you're just going to use this to get out of the classes that you've already taken, and that's about it, right? And that's how a lot of people look at it. That's how a lot of people focus on it. They just don't worry necessarily about the cost. And for a lot of kids, and specifically, I was talking to this one girl today. She was like, "Oh, I'm going to leave class 10 minutes early, right?" And so because of that, she was, went to check with the professor. And I was like, "Look, you're paying to be here. I'm pretty sure you don't have to check with this guy." And she was like, "Nah, student loans are paying." And I was like, "Dude, oh my gosh, because essentially she's looking at just taking, cash flow and income out of her future, and then using that as a way to retroactively pay for the past, which sucks. And it's a position that a ton of people are in right now, especially with inflating college costs. People say that like college should be a bubble, the world could end, and it's total rip-off. But at the same time, people are paying for it, people are going to debt for it, and it matters for them because it has a tremendous return. And that's why when we looked at educational returns today, like it makes sense to pursue the things that are gonna create long-term wealth. But at the same time, it sucks that so many people are not planning ahead enough for the futures that they want to have. So, for instance, right, if you look at like standard 529 college savings plans, which are tax-abated savings plans that essentially allow you to invest in the stock market and make as much money as you want, and you don't have to pay any taxes on those gains as long as you spend the profits on college, right? If you do that and you use like a compounding account for the first 18 years of your kid's life, just with a nominal like fractional investment in their future. And I talk more about this in I think it's like chapter 7 and 8, and I break down exactly how people can pay for Harvard with just a couple grand a year, and it's all based on like these long-term compounding principles. But more importantly, it's just about having a solid financial plan and using that as a way to generate wealth across generations, right? So you transfer it down to your kids, and one way to do that is through, these college savings plans. There's another one called an education savings account, and I talk more about that one in the book and why you might want to use that one for preferential investment treatment. But the basis is they're just basically like they're more flexible, and because they're more flexible, you can make better investments. Since 529 plans are usually sort of like 401ks, which are plans that you would have with your employer, and then obviously you invest in those, and when you retire, you pay the taxes at the very, very end, usually, unless you have a Roth. It's just the opposite. You pay tax at the beginning, which is super, super cool. And those are all, broken down way, way deeper in the book and why you'd use them and all that stuff. But the point with it is that these are pretty traditional modes of investments. But like with 429 or 401ks, 529s are pretty inflexible. Usually you're going to be limited to investing in funds. So it makes sense if you want to swing trade or, increase the average profits of your overarching portfolio with independent trades. You can use ESAs, educational savings accounts, to take more control over your financial investments in your kid's future, college future, in a tax-preferred way. Obviously, you could just trade, but these are nice accounts because you don't pay taxes on your gains, which is cool because you're paying it to the school. School's paying taxes. Everyone's paying taxes, and then you can claim that stuff as credits. I break down a ton of college credits in chapter 8, I think, and those are super powerful ways to really take what should be an expense and like find the money for it, generate the money for it through these investments in the American economy. You can take tax gains, you can take individual gains, you can take portfolio gains, all these amazing features that come from the benefits of saving for college. And hey guys, thanks so much. And use them as a way to just absolutely crush it in the marketplace and get college done without necessarily going, 100 grand in debt, stuff like that. And it's all from, planning it before it actually happens, which is, that's like the basis of, any sound financial advice, right? So, really powerful stuff there. And you can use it to just have tremendous results. It's so cool. And that's why, these college savings plans and all of the writing that I have done subsequently for that in 9 to noon is just so powerful, because I want, it's so ridiculously difficult for so many people to get into personal finance and investing. And, this education is really a way for masses of people to pay for college in a way that's not going to require tons of debt. Almost know that you get rid of debt if you have the assets and you just make the smart investments at the beginning that are going to shortcut the hard work that would have to replace them in the end if you use debt, which is just not the place you want to be, right? You don't want to start in the negatives. You want to start positive, and then you're going to be able to invest at a younger age and use that investable capital as a way to create much larger savings and retirements based on more time to invest in the marketplace and general compounding effects of an increased rate of return. Also more time just to trade, get higher return, just make bank, right? You have way more time rather than paying off debt. And for a lot of people, paying off debt, it's so crazy, because they'll put 10% of their income towards it or something, and then it just lasts for years and years and years. I swear, my professor, he's I don't know how old he is, but he's not in his 20s, that's for sure. And I know so many teachers that are in their 50s, in their 40s, late 40s, and they're still freaking paying off college loans. And it all comes down to dude, are you serious? It's just financial literacy, because they're taking a whole bunch of their cash and they're spending it on just crap. And a lot of times it's how they assemble their lifestyle and create their sense of being based on a level of consumption that's just ridiculously high, because they have these debts, and these debts are just growing and growing at interest rates that are pretty comparable to normal bonds. And as you look at that, it's so important for these people to just put everything you have into getting rid of those debts, so that you can put everything you have into investments and assets in yourself, and then enjoy it just ridiculous enjoyment. But you want to make sure that at least you have the cash flow, right? The monthly recurring income that's not based on labor, that's based on the value you bring to the marketplace, and you can use that to create financial freedom. But for a lot of people, it's tough, right? They don't have that recurring income from investments, from assets, be them in the stock market or in business. And so because of that, they just never have the ability to let things go and work with it. So that's why it's so important for a vast majority of people to put all the extra income you have into getting rid of that debt. I'll tell you what, I had this one guy I was working with, awesome guy, looking at getting a house, looking at upgrading new mortgage closer to where he worked, and increasing his expenses. And then while he did that, he was putting away pretty much every single dime he had in excess at the end of the month into his college savings, into his loans, right? Because he went to a professional school, and then he dropped out, and then he went into an administrative role. So he was in med school, and he just didn't decide to be. It was a whole ton of student loans, and so because of that, he was paying them off, and he had this awesome plan. He's still working on it right now, but essentially he's paying everything off in the next 4 years, and he'll be free, by his 40s. And that's awesome. That is ridiculously cool. And for a lot of people, that's the path that they follow. You got to remember, if you're only able to start saving and investing when you're 40, first of all, that sucks. Because a lot of people are trapped in their jobs, and the reason they're trapped in their job is because of debt. And because of their debt, they're not able to accrue assets that increase in value and give them financial freedom in any regard. And so it's so ridiculously important to get that stuff taken care of as soon as possible. You don't increase your expenses when you're already hundreds of thousands of dollars in the hole. That's just not how you go. You gotta crush that stuff away first and get it done. If you're making, I don't know, $50,000 a year, and there's nothing you can do in any way possible to increase your income, which for most people, they can increase their income one way or another, through an online business, through personal business. If you're not working 16 hours a day, what are you doing, right? And for a lot of people, they don't want to, they just want to work 9 to 5. That's totally cool. But you just gotta remember, how are you out there trying to generate, that freedom, right? That financial freedom that comes from, being able to cover your expenses every month with assets, with investments, with interest, with stuff like that you can really free yourself from, having to be with someone else, which I don't know. Some people really like to be employees. Not my thing. Not the thing for a lot of people I know. It's just a means to get cash, and so it just sucks to see people not investing their time, not investing their energy, not investing their income, and for you guys are probably the exception to that, because you're out here investing in your education, listening to a podcast about the freaking stock market. Like, that's the kind of thing that you do to create, a better education, and then use that education, apply it into the marketplace, apply it into the stock market, and just create tremendously larger amounts of wealth because you can use this education that's not available to so many people, because not everyone has a podcast or whatever, and just crush it with the results that you generate based on that independent research. And so we're looking at this class, and another huge thing, right? And this is in Outliers by Malcolm Gladwell. For these books, right, like Outliers and Getting Everything You Can Out of All You've Got, like really recommend that you guys check out my book review videos on YouTube. For these books, I have like a playlist. I have all the books I read and review them, because a lot of them, I'll like spend 8, 12, 14 hours reading a book, and then condense it into like a 10-minute video and be like, hey, this is what this book's about. And then if it connects with you, that's a really powerful way to grow yourself, because people spend, years and years of their lives on these books. It's so powerful. So anyway, he was talking about how there was this summer gap between low-income and high-income kids, and how a ton of kids were really like, their education over the summer was like they were decreasing in intelligence, whereas wealthier kids were going to summer camp, or they were continuing to grow, or they're taking more classes, stuff like that. And so because of that, they had an educational surplus. They were out there crushing it. They had insane levels of growth over the summer based on the experiences they were opened up to. And it talked a whole bunch more, and this is in that lecture. Unfortunately, I'm almost out of time today. And he taught it's a whole bunch about how important it is to invest in education outside of the school, right? Because school won't teach you everything important. I know, especially where I went, there was nothing on finance. It was terrible. And so because of that, you put in the time and effort to use and take advantage of outside resources that can create tremendous impacts on your life. And all of a sudden, the difference appears between these students because they take advantage of these outside educational resources. The book specifically was a huge part in a difference in these education and then further life growth for these guys. It was insane. It was super powerful. And so I'm sure you guys will hear more about this stuff in those videos, and also probably in the 9 to New members area, which is super cool. Hopefully we can get all this stuff worked out, get the rights to that video for you guys. If not, I will teach you the content one way or another. Really great book is Outliers by Malcolm Gladwell. He talks a bunch about a lot of the stuff that was in that very valuable seminar. So hopefully you guys check out the book review video on that, and then obviously get your copy of The Ultimate Guide to Personal Finance and Investing. So with that said, have an awesome day. Thank you guys so much for listening. Hope you got a ton of value out of this. Go out there and crush it. See ya. Thanks. Want more stock market secrets? If so, go get your free copy of my best-selling book, 9 to Noon. You can get your free copy plus $11,176 of unannounced bonuses it took me years to uncover, completely for free at 9tonoonsecrets.com. Inside 9 to Noon, you'll find the top 38 secrets you can use to double your portfolio every 2 years and make upwards of 10% per trade daily.